So now, Ms. Precious is an experienced management system consultant and GRC expert, currently working as an information system auditor at Development Bank of Nigeria. Precious has implemented and audited business continuity management system, BCMS, for several organizations, both within and outside Nigeria. Additionally, she has trained numerous participants on business continuity based on ISO 22301 standard. She also specialized in implementing and auditing IT frameworks and standards, as well as diving process implementations and optimizing across various institutions and sectors. Today, Precious will be discussing key business continuity concepts and how to establish strengths in your organization. Sorry, let me come again. How to establish and strengthen your organization reliance by adopting business best practice. Without further ado, let me introduce us to the trainer for today. Ms. Precious, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you confirm that you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear,
All right. Thank you so much for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here this morning. The only problem I'm having right now is the fact that I'm taking the train after Madam Faye, because I apologize ahead for any background you might be experiencing, because we're all Nigerians. So anyways, just take it easy on me, right? So let me quickly share my screen so we can dive right into what we have for today. Please confirm when you can see my screen.
Sorry, can you kindly hold on a minute, please?
Okay.
The AI link has been sent, so if you're for the AI class, kindly move to the chat box. You will see the link for the AI class. You can just click on the link and resume your class, because the Personal Excellence program is a general class that we'll all need to partake in before we move to our various classes. So kindly check the chat box and use the link to move to the AI class. And if you are for business analysis, you remain in the class, and this is where you get the best gist and the hottest updates, like the Gen Zs will say. Thank you very much. Ms. Precious, you can proceed now.
All right, so let me share my screen. Just kindly confirm when you can see my screen. So can we all see my screen?
Yes, ISO
Yes,
20.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We can see your screen.
All right. Thank you very much once again. So today we'll be discussing ISO 22301, Business Continuity Management System. So the good thing is, before now, I'm sure we've participated in the class for ISO 27001, which is Information Security Management System. We've also done 45,001 health and safety, 31,000 risk management, 14,001 environmental system. So it's very good that business continuity is coming after all of these classes, because they are all components of business continuity. They all contribute to ensuring that we have a solid business continuity management system in our organizations. So let's quickly go to our learning objectives for this class. Number one, we want to make sure you understand the fundamentals of business continuity management systems. Number two, recognize the importance of ISO 22301. Number three, identify key elements. And then number four, to gain insight into implementation and maintenance. So I believe everybody in this class at some point, if that's what you choose to do, might want to implement or audit this particular standard in any capacity. So let's quickly look at some real life scenarios before we dive into the ISO 22301 standard proper. So if you see, the date for this headline was Wednesday, 23rd July, 2025. So if you are conversant with maybe BBC, CNN, if you watch those news stations. One of the news headline that was trending few weeks ago was this Heathrow airport fire, right? So what caused the fire? So they had like a substation. If the fire outbreak started from there, before you know it affected the whole airport, people couldn't travel. Just imagine the chain of events. Maybe somebody is going for an interview, they can't make it. Somebody has a medical emergency, they can't make it. Somebody is going for maybe an international webinar or something, and they are the top speaker, they can't make it. Just imagine, for almost how many hours people were not able to move because of this fire. At the end of the day, if you look at the root cause of this event, it all boils down to business continuity. Also, if you can see the headline, it's the costs for remediating this incident and getting things back to normal, not necessarily normal, just to restore service and everything, cost tens of millions of dollars. So at the end of the day, you're saying that business continuity is actually very important, because if these incidents are not tackled from the root, it can lead to huge losses in terms of money. This is just the picture. We have another incident. I don't know if we're all familiar with Okra, the fintech that just had to close down business in Nigeria. Can I see? Is anybody familiar with what happened? You can just like react or something. Is anybody familiar? All right, so let's see what happened. So Okra is one of the pioneer fintechs in open banking. You know, open banking, the CBN is looking into, starting open banking in Nigeria and everything. And they were one of the, pioneer fintechs. Although when they started, before, competition started, Mono also wanted to do open banking, and I think another organization as well. But those organizations have been in existence before Okra. So they couldn't, it wasn't something they could just pull off. But from my own side of things, I believe if they are taking business continuity into consideration as one of the key foundational aspects of the system, they probably would have lasted a longer period of time, because they had all the things in place. They could do it, they could make it. But maybe when people see business continuity as an afterthought, I believe people with high business continuity competence should be on the board. They should be among top management. They should it should technically even be a department on its own. You go to organizations and you just see business continuity as one afterthought that they just gave to one person in risk department. And that person in risk department, the business continuity is not even his actual job. Is his second job that they not even put on his offer letter. It's just something that I said, we need business continuity manager, right? Okay, you just add it to your normal job. Maybe you're our credit risk person, or you're our enterprise risk person. Just add it to your normal day-to-day job, so that we shall get this our certification and they will not sanction us. So usually organizations see business continuity as an afterthought. That's why you see it's ending up becoming big issues like this. So let's look at some cracks beneath the surface. What happened? Why did Okra crash? First of all, they came into the scene in 2022 October. They were making, they got the investors' money, they got everything. Before they started encountering some unforeseen circumstances. If you are taking business continuity as the major part of your business, those things we call unforeseen circumstances, we would have predicted them during our risk assessment and business impact analysis. We might not be able to, obviously, we're not magicians, we're not be able to predict everything, but trust me, if your risk assessment and business impact analysis in line with business continuity is done properly, the incidents you will not be prepared for ahead will be very minimal. So next thing, Naira devaluation came. Tinubu entered the picture. He did what he could do. Naira started, the value for Naira started going. It was the inflation was really high. It affected them. Again, they pivoted. They tried to say, okay, since we're having these issues with the devaluation, maybe we should not spend too much on having maybe infrastructure on site. Let's use cloud infrastructure, maybe because cloud infrastructure is scalable. if you don't need it at this moment, you can always say, oh, I'm not paying for this. Just in case if you are being cost sensitive as an organization, cloud infrastructure is one thing you want to look into. They tried to move their core banking application and all those things, but it just didn't work out. By mid-2025, they had no choice, but they were actually responsible in shutting down because they made sure they gave severance pay to their employees and returned investors' money. It's a good ending for everybody because even the founder is in another organization now. But at the end of the day, it could have been better if only business continuity was a major player in terms of how they ran their organization. Are we also familiar with these two individuals on the screen? Do we know them? I guess they're even popular than Beyonce at the moment, right?
Yes, they are trending.
Yeah, so let's look at how their organization handled this incident. So that's the CEO and head of people at Astronomer. So recently, I don't even need to tell you the gist, right? Even I'm sure you can even gist me, right? So they went for a Coldplay concert. We all know what happened there. You get, and then it became a whole scandal. And the problem with a scandal like this is it doesn't just affect them personally, it also affects the organization as a whole. So this is where crisis management plays a major role. Crisis management is also a part of business continuity. So let's look at some issues that happened when this came out. First of all, the organization did not release any official statement until after about 52 hours. It doesn't make sense. If it was something that was not already all over the place, you can still, do you know how many things used to happen within banks or telecom companies in Nigeria that they will not even announce till after like 6 months? They'll be like, oh, we experienced a hack about how many. But in this type of case, it was already viral. And then you wait for 52 hours before you release an official statement. So do you know what that gap of 52 hours led to? They didn't drive the conversation anymore. It was now the people driving the conversation. You could see there was a case where there was this statement that was making around that it was made by the man, and actually it was a fake statement. It's because they didn't make an official statement. So everybody believed that that fake statement, which was very ridiculous, came from the CEO directly. Then after 52 hours, they released the statement. As stated previously, we are committed to values and culture. The CEO has resigned, blah, blah, blah. We're working towards. But this is like, it could have been handled better, right? So in optimal crisis management, you want to make sure you release a statement on or before 24 hours, at least. Even 24 hours is too much, but at least, because if you have an adequate business continuity plan in place, you already know. You'd have predicted things like this. You know who is the crisis who are the members of the crisis management team, who is the leader. These people we already meet within even 1 hour. They're already having a meeting discussing how it will be handled. Within maybe 6 hours, 5 hours, a statement has been released. Within maybe even 12 hours before the next day, the people that are involved in the whole thing have even given out personal statements as well, and all of that, to prevent misinformation and fake news going around. Before you know, you can even turn around the situation to your favor as an organization with adequate crisis management. Now, if you Google Astronomer, there's no way this will not come up even for the next few years, no matter what they did. But it could have been handled better if only they took charge of this crisis from the horn. They were not laid back a bit and everything. So obviously this will affect their shares, their investors, and all of those things. We don't want to go into it. So these are just a few real life scenarios where business continuity could have played a huge role in ensuring the outcome was different and the outcome was better in this case. And if you see, it cuts across different types of organization. We have seen an airport, we've seen a tech company, we've seen a fintech as well. So all of these things is just to show you and give you an idea to know that business continuity is not just something that applies to a specific set of organizations. It cuts across different sectors, different industries, and all of that. So let's go into our coursework for today. I'm sure we're familiar with the clauses. ISO 22301, we have 10 clauses. Clause 4, context of the organization. Clause 5, leadership. 6, planning. 7, support. 8, operation. 9, performance evaluation. 10, improvement. So I won't be focusing on some of these clauses because I believe the other trainers have done proper work in explaining what these clauses mean. So let's dive right into what exactly is business continuity. So business continuity refers to the ability of your organization to continue. So I say the key word here is continue delivering products and services at acceptable predefined levels after a disruptive incident. So, and a disruptive incident can occur and then you are still delivering service, but is it at an acceptable level and has it been predefined? So you don't allow the incident define the products and services you'll be giving just because it happened. Before the incident happened, we already structured, we know what we want to do if this particular incident happened. What are these examples of incidents? Maybe we experience data loss, maybe somebody hacks into our network, maybe we lost a key personnel, maybe the CEO resigns out of the blues. All of those things are incidents we need to have prepared for before they even happen. So it ensures resilience by preparing the organization to respond. Number one, respond. So if we're looking at that astronomer example, if they had responded in less than 24 hours, that would have even first catered to an aspect of the incident before they now move towards recovering from the incident. That's removing people's idea of astronomer from moving from, oh, that company that the CEO and the head of HR had an affair, to maybe just establishing themselves as data analytic experts in the tech world. That's when they have recovered and then restoring back to the extent that when you hear astronomer, you're not even thinking about the affair that went viral last year. You're thinking about their key competencies. That's when they've restored back everything to its proper place. So it's not just about responding to disasters, but also about proactive planning to minimize disruption. So in this case, in this astronomer's case, do you think there was any proactive planning that could have been done to minimize the disruption or to even prevent that incident from happening in the first place? Can anybody can answer, please? Do you think there's anything from a business continuity perspective, do you think there's anything that they could have done to prevent the incidents in the first place? And you can share in the chat box, you can unmute your mic. It's an interactive section. Let's discuss.
I feel they should have not gone to a public place where there will be cameras in the first place.
Okay. Does anybody have another angle? Someone else, one more person.
Yes, thank you very much, man. I think one of the ethics of business suggests that they shouldn't have even got into that affair in the first place. I think it's absorbed, it's unheard of.
Exactly. So we have, some policies, but the crazy thing in this case is the owner of that policy was the one that was, involved in the scandal. You have some HR policies that say, okay, if you're dating a fellow, maybe somebody else, another colleague, maybe you should inform the HR, or some organizations even cancel it as a whole. They don't allow dating within employees within the organization and all of those things. So sometimes we just establish these policies. We don't examine to see if people are actually abiding by this policy. Maybe they just wrote it there. Obviously, I don't even understand how the affair could have gone to that stage and nobody knew about it. But then again, it's dicey because it involved the CEO, who is like the most powerful person in the organization. So it's really, 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 I really feel bad for whoever will have to handle this in terms of business continuity. So like I said earlier, it's very important that there's someone with high business continuity competence on the board, first of all. So they should stop saying most organizations will just choose one random person. No, even on the board, people should have business continuity competence. They should go for trainings. They should have actual real world experience before. It should even be one of the things they look out for before even bringing up that person. Because just imagine the board have the final say, and then there's nobody with business continuity competence. They'll make a decision that might even crash down the organization. There should be somebody thinking from the aspect of no, no, no. How do we ensure we stay in business despite this incident? So there should be somebody with business continuity competence on the board, top management, that's even before it gets to the board, and then mid-level management as well. I don't think any business continuity expert should be a low-level person. The person should definitely start from mid level roles within the organization. So let's go. So business continuity, 3 key components: preparedness, response, and recovery. So this ISO 22301 we're going to be talking about, implementing it within your organization will ensure that you are prepared and then after being prepared, then it will also ensure that you've put measures in place to ensure that if this thing happens, we can respond effectively and minimize it to like an acceptable level, and also then recover subsequently. Recovery can still take a while, but preparedness and response is something that they are both immediate. Recovery, you can say, okay, over the space of 1 month before we'll recover back to our initial state. But when it comes to preparedness and response, you must take action very, very quickly. That's where we'll discuss our RTOs and MAO. All right, so let's see example of disruptive incidents. We have natural disasters. So in a country like Nigeria, we thank God we don't have some of these natural disasters, but we still experience flood, we still experience, fire outbreaks and all of that. So we have natural disasters. You want to make sure as a business continuity expert, maybe within your organization, you want to make sure you examine, are we in a flood prone area? Is any of our offices in a flood prone area? Is any of our offices in a place maybe subjected to drought? Even if it's not happening at the moment, has there been incidences where it happened in the past? If it has happened in the past, there's a higher probability of it happening again. All of those things are what you take into your planning phase as a business continuity expert. Then cyber attacks. I'm just glad we've done ISO 27001. Most of the world now everything is almost digital. You can't run away from it. You can't run away from technology. There's no business you're running that can be fully, at this stage of the world, that can be fully done manually. Even farming that involves tilling the ground, there's an aspect of it that is technologically related as at where we are now in the world. So you have cyber attacks. When technology make advancements, bad guys will also look for ways to exploit some of those technologies that have been put in place. And then in a country like Nigeria, where unemployment is on the rise, we might have more cases of these cyber attacks because some people even say some of these fraudulent people that do yahoo and all of that why don't they divert their attention to technology and become maybe cybersecurity experts and all of that? I laugh because it's totally two different things. If you want to steal, the effort you put into stealing, I don't think it can, but well, it could be a start. So we see cyber attacks that can compromise our data and security, operational failures. Like that fire outbreak was due to an operational failure. Maybe maybe you did not do your maintenance when you needed to do it, and before you know, something expired, and then something blew out. Before you know, there's a huge fire outbreak. We also have health crises. With the advent of coronavirus that took place in 2020, health is no longer something that you should just keep. Who knows? If coronavirus could have happened, something worse could have happened as well. We had Ebola as well. All of those things are business continuity incidents that can disrupt the way we do business as at today. So any serious organization that wants to still be in business and even exceed have high performance levels, they want to ensure that they prepare ahead for this type of disruptive events. That's why it's important to know the context of your organization. It's very important. Some things that might apply to this organization might not apply to that organization. So just because you want to do great business continuity does not mean, oh, anything they say, oh, do you have business continuity plan for this? Yes. Do you have continuity? Everything. At the end of the day, your business continuity management system is not even, optimal, because you've diverted your attention to so many different places that are not even exactly your concern. So you want to make sure you understand the context of your organization. Just imagine an organization that runs a fully remote model and an organization that runs a fully on-site model whereby employees come to the office. Their business continuity plans cannot be exactly the same. The context of their organization is different. So that's one key thing you need to know. You want to make sure you understand the organization where you are implementing the business continuity management system. We have different standards for implementing business continuity, but for the purpose of this training session, we'll be focusing on ISO 22301. So let's see the importance of business continuity in today's environment. From those real life scenarios we looked at, we can see that reputation and trust. For astronomer, that was like one key part that was affected, right? Their reputation and trust. It doesn't mean because the CEO and the HR had an affair, it doesn't mean they're not delivering. They're actually even one of the organizations to look out for in the space which they operate. They are doing actually great work. Unfortunately, their reputation has been hampered. We have regulatory compliance. So sometimes you can be implementing business continuity in terms of operationalizing it within your organization. Some things might not be necessary per se, but the standard is the standard. If you don't do some aspect and just say, no, now it's not important, even we that implement the standard from time to time will just be like, something's just like, is this actually even necessary? But the standard is the standard. If you don't meet certain requirements, you won't get your certificate, which can lead to, regulatory breaches, which can subsequently lead to fines and all of that. So regulatory compliance is very important to mostly for organizations that operate in a highly regulated space like banks, telecom industries, and all of that. You want to make sure you take into conversance that your business continuity system, make sure that all the bodies, your regulatory that oversees you in the regulatory aspect, you want to make sure that you meet up. Financial stability. If you remember the airport incident, the losses they incurred ran into tens of millions of dollars. So trust me, it's going to affect their financial stability one way or the other. No matter how big they are, no matter how successful they are, it's going to affect. Even if it doesn't affect anything, it will affect the bonus they'll be getting that year, because money has been reduced and they didn't plan for that. So this disruption can lead to revenue loss, increased recovery loss, just not just the money you lost due to the incidents. Then what of the money you use to maybe repair some machines, buy new machines, and all of that. And also, if maybe it was a regulatory breach, it can lead to fines, which can also still affect your financial stability. Stakeholder confidence. If I was one of the stakeholders at Astronomer, obviously one of my key questions would be, how is this going to affect my investment? Do I need to pull out? Do I need to go and meet your competition? Because obviously, if they have any key competitor, this is their time to shine. They need to take advantage of this incident and this challenge they are having at the moment and use it to their own favor. So as an investor, you want to make sure the investor is already asking questions. What's going to happen to my money? So business continuity is very important, because if these incidents are not properly handled, it can affect your stakeholder confidence. And if you don't have investors' money, you don't have a company, or it's not your money you're using to run the company, it's investors' money. So if you don't have investors' money, except if you have a small boy or small girl with a big god, and maybe you're a nepo baby, you have some money somewhere, you can always use your own money, sha. But most companies run on investors fund, which is very important. If the business continuity incident is not adequately addressed, stakeholders' confidence will be affected. Global risk as well, climate change, geopolitical instability, evolving cyber threats. You want to make sure, climate change has been a huge discussion all over the world for some time now. There are some international investors that won't even invest in your organization if you don't have evidence to demonstrate how you are contributing to positively to climate change. They will not even invest in your organization as a whole. So these are key aspects that business continuity can play a huge role in ensuring that your business survive. At the end of the day, the major goal of any business is to scale, is to survive. No matter what happens, you want to stay in business. And I think there's figures that say most companies fail within the first 5 years of business. Then if you not take into conversation is a country like Nigeria, I don't think one should be even up to 2 years. Most companies will probably fail in their first year of business in Nigeria because, in terms of stability, our economy is not very, very stable, and we have a lot of challenges that are unique to us as a country. So why should you implement ISO 22301? In this case, you're not an organization, you're a person that is going to probably implement it in an organization or audit it, depending on the career path you choose to follow. So in this case, how do you demonstrate to the organization that, this is how ISO 22301 can support your business continuity? So you want to explain to them that, first of all, it will ensure that you've identified the risks to your business continuity. That's a whole clause. That's clause 8.2. So you also want to make sure that you want to explain the importance of developing and implementing business continuity strategies and plans. You also want to explain the importance of testing their business continuity plans. All of this will be discussing in depth late in the follow-up slides. So why should you adopt 22301? You want to make sure number one, first of all, it will enhance your resilience and preparedness. Some people see implementing business continuity as a waste of time and waste of money, because they'll be like, it's been 5 years, we've not had this incident. It's been 5 years, we've not had a fire outbreak. Why are we wasting money to service our fire extinguishers? This thing cost us a lot of money. We're just servicing them every time. Sometimes even when they expire, we have to buy new ones, and it's been 5 years, there's not been any fire incidents. They'll say, no, we don't need it. Okay, even if we'll pay for it, okay, let's just pay for this before we'll prioritize it very low. And at the end of the day, it's even that time you just go, it's the day you do not even service that fire extinguisher. That's the fire bill. As if they know, is when you are least prepared, they'll come. So that's why it's very important to be prepared round the clock. So it enhances resilience and preparedness. It improves your recovery time and reduces impact. Let's say there's a fire incident. If you have your fire extinguishers, before you know, maybe if it was supposed to consume the whole of your 3rd floor, but because it was tackled immediately, you have fire extinguishers, you have people that know how to use them, you have people that have participated in fire drills, everything just went smoothly. Your recovery time will be reduced drastically, and the impact will also be reduced drastically as well. It also aligns business continuity with global best practices. At the end of the day, there's no company that wants to remain small. You want to make sure you are robust enough to compete internationally, right? Everybody wants to grow, everybody wants to reach the top. So it aligns your business continuity with global best practices. And then it also ensures that you can confidently navigate uncertainties and protect your critical organization operations. Sometimes when you hear business continuity, you think it ends at fire, ends at maybe somebody resigning. At the end of the day, there are some business continuity incidents that you end up in jail. If you don't even do what you end up in jail, because what you even have cannot pay up what that incident led to. you end up even having to give your life and end up in jail. So it's very important that you can navigate uncertainties, protect your critical operations. Just imagine a bank now, they encounter a very terrible incident, and then people's money are lost more than even what NDIC can ensure. That bank, number one, it will cease to exist. Number two, even after NDIC has probably done the insurance of some people's deposits, return some money, they cannot have peace of mind. They are going to be maybe having a lot of legal battles, and at the end of the day, some people can even end up being jailed. So we've seen a few benefits of implementing ISO 22301. You know how they used to say everything that has an advantage has a disadvantage. Unfortunately, there's no disadvantage. Fortunately, there's no disadvantage for implementing ISO 22301. I've thought about it. There's none. It's just in your best interest to implement it at the end of the day within any organization. So here we have our 10 clauses. You know, we're already aware that we have clause 1, 2, and 3, which are non-auditable clauses of the standard. They are just, you know, introductory clauses. You don't need to implement clause 1, clause 2, and clause 3. You start implementation from clause 4, context of the organization. I might not dwell too much on the other clauses, but you see clause 4. Clause 4 is actually very, very important, because that's one mistake I've seen that occurs and reoccur across different organizations. Most times you see that they just implement the standard for implementation's sake or for regulatory purposes. The way they implement it, you already know they don't even understand the context of their organization. First of all, you want to understand your products, your services, your environmental, your internal and external issues. So we can be operating on the same street. You can have Access Bank and UBA on the same street, in the same location, and the context of both organizations will be way different. One can have a lean team, one can have sufficient number of employees, one can have a good email culture. Maybe people read their emails. The other one might not have it. Maybe they are still operating on sending memos with paper and all of that. But those things affect business continuity on a large scale. So if you don't understand, you can't deceive yourself and say, oh, this is where we are. No, you need to be honest with yourself when you are understanding the context of your organizations. You want to understand your unique challenges, your unique issues, what can work in your organization and what will not work in your organization. So it's very important to understand the context of your organization. Your interested parties might be different. What exactly are their needs and expectations? You want to see the scope. So this UBA might have operation across Nigeria and maybe 20 other countries. Access Bank might have operations across Nigeria and maybe 50 other countries. So all those things can affect the context of your organization. So it's very important to understand exactly who you are, your product, your services, your objectives, your strategic direction. All of those things are very important before even saying, oh, we are going to implement a business continuity management system. That can make a whole large difference between a successful business continuity management system and one that might crash at the end of the day. It's very foundational and very, very important. Are we here? Can I see some, some hands in the chat box? Are we following?
Yes, we
Do
are
we
following.
understand? Okay, one person has spoken. We have over 30 people. Can I see some, stickers in the chat box? Are we following? Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. So go to the next one. Clause 4, like I mentioned, very, very important. Understanding the context of your organization. Are you a government-owned institution? Do you have, are you planning to, establish your company in other locations? Are you across the 35 states, 36 states in Nigeria, or you want to focus on the Southwest, or you want to focus on the Southeast? What exactly is your plan? You need to very much, understand the context of your organization before you start implementing your business continuity management system. We go to clause 5, leadership. That's self-explanatory. There's nothing you do within an organization if you don't have top management buy-in, if they don't have if you don't have 100% support of top management, it's going to fail, because at the end of the day, top management needs to fund it, top management needs to drive it within the organization, top management needs to sign some documents, communicate certain things within the organization. So another key thing, if you go to an organization and are trying to implement ISO 22301, that's the business continuity management system, if you notice that top management is not cooperating, just tell them that, see, let's go back to the drawing board. Go and agree with your top management. Let's have their 100% buy-in before we move forward. Because if you say, oh, let's continue, and along the line, top management will come on board, you're wasting your time. Just make sure, just pause it. There's no need. When top management are ready, then they should call you back. Because if you don't have top management buy-in, if you like understand the context of the organization, if you like do the best risk assessment you've ever seen, it's not going to work. So top management buy-in is very, very important. And not 90% or not 70% or 100% top management buy-in into the business continuity. They must be 100% hands on deck to ensure that they would do everything they need to do to ensure that the business continuity management system is adequately implemented. After you've understand your context of your organization, you've gotten top management buy-in, then you can start planning all the things you need to do. You want to check, risk and opportunities that can affect this project. Not there's 2 risk assessments, one in clause 6 and one in clause 8. The clause 6 one is focusing on things that might, in terms of, you can look at it from an aspect of project management, what can affect the implementation of this business continuity management system. I don't know if anybody has done project management. Is one of the key things in the project management cycle. You want to do a risk assessment first before you start your project. So you can look at the implementation of the business continuity management system as a project. So you want to look what risk can affect the implementation of the business continuity management system within our organization, not the world at large, within our organization. You want to set your business continuity objectives. So what are the things we aim to achieve with this business continuity management system that we're implementing? Do we aim to reduce our incidents? Maybe last year we had 100 business continuity incidents, but this year we want to have 10. That's, we want to reduce it by 90%. Is that an objective? Do you want to make sure that there's little to no staff attrition? Do you want to make sure, maybe you've observed that most of your employees resign after 6 months or 8 months within the organization, and it has been affecting your business continuity? Is that an objective? Do you want to reduce your staff attrition to a certain level? Maybe if 100 employees resigned last year, you want to reduce it to 20 employees this way. All of those things are business continuity objectives that you should make sure you set. So it's not one person that is meant to set this objective. You want to make sure it's a round table discussion with all the important people that matter, so that when this person is coming from this angle, this person can counter it from this angle, and then we have well-rounded objectives that cater to every aspect of our business continuity management system. Then you develop action plans to achieve this objective. Support as well, that's where it's closely related with leadership, because now they have to provide resources, allocate these resources. Resources cuts across money, people, facilities, access, even access, right? There are resources. All of those things are resources that want to be properly allocated to ensure that the business continuity management system is implemented successfully. They want to make sure that people are adequately competent. Do they need to go for training? Do they need to write certain certification exams? Do they need to understudy some people? Do they need to do anything to ensure that they establish competence in business continuity? You want to make sure you put it in place. Then periodic awareness. At the end of the day, you cannot be implementing a business continuity management system and employees are not carried along. They play key roles in the business continuity management system. So you want to make sure employees are adequately aware of their roles and responsibilities in ensuring that the business continuity management system is successfully implemented. Then you send them for training, those that need to go for training, maybe your business continuity manager, your incident response team leader, all of those things. You want to make sure and not just training for training sake, or not just training to collect money that, I went for training. No, you want to make sure the training they are going to addresses their specific needs for the roles they will be holding within the business continuity management system. So an incident response maybe team leader, you want to send him for like a crisis management course, all of those things. So you cannot be sending him for an fully IT related course as an incident response team leader. You want to make sure the training you're sending him for is very much aligned to his role within the business continuity management system. Internal and external communication. Who do we communicate to? How do we communicate to them? When do we communicate to them? What channel will we be using to communicate to them? When you get to clause 7, all of those things are the things you'll be establishing, because no organization exists on its own. No organization is an island. You belong to like a web of other organizations, maybe organizations that do similar things that you do. You want to make sure you have external communication channels to communicate with some of these organizations. Even you don't even if you know another organization that does something similar to what you do, just even in the community you exist in, you want to make sure there are channels to communicate with community leaders and all of that. Even security agencies and all of that, because they also play key roles when incidents happen within our organization. You also want to make sure you have a documented information procedure that clearly establishes how we'll be creating our documents, updating them, storing them, and controlling them as a whole. So we go to clause 8, which is the actual most important clause within the business continuity management system. So even after it's just like a human being that everything very beautiful, very tall, elegant and everything, but the heart is malfunctioning. Maybe they want a heart transplant. So clause 8 is the heart of, we like call it the brain or the heart, anyone. I think they are both equally important. The heart of the business continuity management system. So it pumps blood to other aspects of the business continuity management system. So if it's not adequately implemented, just is as good as just giving up, because that business continuity management system will not be important. So let's look at some key definitions within our clause 8. First, we have risk, we have threat, we have vulnerability and resilience. So if you look at this part is closely intertwined with ISO 27001. So I'm sure we've come across some of these definitions before. Risk, effect of uncertainty on objectives. So we have two types of risk. It can be positive or negative, opportunities or threats. So most times we shouldn't just approach risk from a place of, oh, how is it going to affect us negatively? How is it going to affect us negatively? We can also look, okay, what advantage can we take? How can this present an advantage to our organization? So it's very important while you're addressing the negative aspect, you also take into consideration the positive aspect. Sometimes something terrible happening to your competitor is an opportunity for you. So all of those things are some things you should take into consideration. Threat, potential of causing an unwanted incident that could result in harm or disruption to the organization. Vulnerability, something that can be exploited, a weakness that can be exploited by threats. Then we have resilience. Resilience is a very, very key definition within business continuity. The ability of the organization to absorb, adapt, and recover from disruptive events while maintaining critical operations. So if you see critical operations here, how will you know the operations within your organization that are critical? So sometimes when you go somewhere to implement business continuity and you're explaining to them, oh, you have some critical operations, some people won't say, oh, so what I'm doing is not critical, right? No. So every process is critical within the organization, but unfortunately, some are more critical than the other. And sometimes the criticality can vary depending on the specific incidents that, happens. So criticality is very important, and that's why it's very important for you to carry out a business impact analysis. So when you carry out a business impact analysis, what are you trying to do? You are looking at all the processes within your organization and trying to prioritize them. Okay, which one is more critical than which one? So when an incident occurs, we know how to prioritize our recovery. We know where to channel our energy first. It's not like we'll abandon the rest too, but we'll address this one first before we move to this one. So business impact analysis is a critical process in business continuity management system that identifies and evaluates the potential effects of a disruption on an organization operation. So if a fire incident occur, what are the processes that we need to immediately relocate to our alternate site? What are the, so let's say let's quickly do an a small scenario based example. So let's say you have your head office at maybe Ikoyi in Lagos, and then unfortunately there was a fire incident, and then you're an organization that runs 24 hours, let's say like a bank. If there's a fire incident, what processes do you think are the most important to recover at that moment? Let's say, please, let's just use 1 minute for this because our time is already fast spent. What processes do you think will be most important to recover? Give me top 3 processes that you think a bank should focus on if there's an incident. A bank. Or you can give me the example you want to use. You can maybe use a manufacturing company, any example you are conversant with. Just state the example and the top 3 processes you think should be adequately maybe should be given optimal attention first. Can anybody, one person should just answer so we can continue. Okay, somebody says security. Eloka said security. What else? I said top 3. Security of what, first of all? Is it security of life, properties, or which one? Somebody should even just, okay, security of funds. Okay. Let's say we have a lot of cash. Want to make sure that they are adequately secured. Somebody can unmute. You can actually unmute your mic and just give me random example. So I guess you are just telling me I should answer my question by myself. So first of all, if there's a fire outbreak, I think personally one of the top 3 processes I think that people should not even notice were affected. First of all, obviously our IT infrastructure. People should probably still be able to make transfers, even if they can't come to our organization physically. They should probably, our USSD should be working, our applications, mobile app should be working, first of all, because that's where you encounter problem when people are trying to touch their money and they can't touch it, and they saw on the news that fire happened at your head office. They'll be like, make it make sense. Where's my money? So first of all, your IT infrastructure is adequately protected. That's why we say, oh, your data center should be, fireproof. There should be fire extinguishers. There should be FM 200. There should be this and that. All of those things. That's why it's very important. Your IT infrastructure should be adequately protected. And again, aside the fact that people will be able to access their funds, you want to make sure that they are not gutted by fire, because if you check the budget of any organization, IT budget is the highest. Those things are freaking expensive. So you want to make sure that your data center, any of your equipment on site is adequately protected from that fire. Secondly, you want to make sure your customer service is running smoothly, because trust me, people will be calling. People want to be rest assured that their money is safe. First, and then thirdly, you want to make sure that your employees are, adequately, because at the end of the day, nothing is more important than lives and property. That should have even been the first thing. You want to make sure that people are relocated to a safe alternate location. People are not affected. People know how to use the muster points. People are adequately relocated. So when you do your business impact analysis, these are the things you'll be sitting. That I advise that business impact analysis is not done by one person, done by a group of people across all the departments within the organization, so we can bounce ideas of each other. Okay, which one do you think is the most critical process within our department? Oh, is this are you sure? But you remember when this happened, we had to do this, that. So you want to make sure that you adequately prioritize your processes, so that when any incident happens, you know which one to address first. Just imagine if fire happen and the first thing we are doing is we want to run to TV station and start making statements while other things are crashing behind. That's not the first step. You want to make sure that you address your processes based on their level of importance. After you've done your business impact analysis, then you go ahead and do your risk assessment. So what are the possible, so you want to predict now. This is where you become a magician. You want to predict that what are the possible risks? We already understood the definition of risk earlier. What are the possible risks that can negatively affect, this time while focusing on negatively affect our processes, mostly our critical processes. So you do it step by step, the most critical ones. What are the risks to these processes? Okay, after you've now identified the risk, the next thing you want to do is develop plans and procedures that can mitigate that risk. That means before it even happens, this is what we have put in place. Fire incidents will probably not happen because, number one, we have sprinklers. Immediately they detect smoke detectors. Immediately there's a smoke, they take action. So even something that was probably supposed to be a huge fire incident will probably not even happen. So those are some ways you can mitigate the risks you've identified during your risk assessment. So we have recovery time objective and maximum acceptable outages. They are two key very important definitions when conducting your business impact analysis. So for each of those, your critical processes that you identify, you want to make sure you have recovery time objectives. That's the minimum time frame to recover that process. So if, let's say, our customer service process, that's maybe taking calls from customer, one of our processes within our customer service department, if a disruption happens and then maybe we use MTN or we use Glow, and for some reason calls cannot be made, how long do you want to ensure that this process is offline? So if we are using MTN, you want to make sure you have a backup, maybe like Airtel or something that you can always move in between. For something like that is quite critical, maybe you receive about 20 complaints per day. You want to make sure at least, no matter what happens, maybe only 2 or 3 people should be affected. You want to make sure you at least, or let's just say even 50%, you want to make sure you attend to at least 50% of those calls. So what's the recovery time objective? We shouldn't be offline for more than an hour, or we shouldn't be offline for more than 2 hours. And then what will be the strategy or plan we'll put in place? We'll make sure that, okay, let's say we're offline for 1 hour, we want to send them email to say, oh, currently our customer line is currently under waiting, but we are working on it. Kindly kindly be patient. So that thing already keeps the customer's mind down a bit while you're working on ensuring you recover that process within your recovery time objective. So one is minimum, one is maximum. So let's say you're not even able to recover that process within 2 hours, which is your RTO. Your maximum should, let's say, be 6 hours. So bad as it bad, no matter what, if we cannot recover this process within 2 hours, we want to make sure we recover it within at most 6 hours. So these two definitions are very key. Most times when you go to implement the BCMS within some organization, they don't necessarily understand the difference, or they just guess. So you want to make sure you dive deep into that process and say, okay, what if this happens? What if that happens? Has this happened before you ensure that they establish their recovery time objective and maximum acceptable outage. All right.
Sorry
Unfortunately,
to cut you
yeah, my
short.
time, right?
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah, my time
just
is
round up
over.
and let's just do a
All right.
Q&A session.
All right. All right. So I'm sure we're not able to wrap up the whole slides that we have here, but with these real life scenarios that we've looked at, and then the way we've explained some concepts, I'm sure by the time you get a hold of this slide, everything will be a walk in the park. At the end of the day, it's just very important to know that. And if you even go online to Google how much business continuity experts earn, you'd be surprised. So that's one field that I think people are like sidelining, but it plays a huge role as an organization, as a person. If you want to establish a career, you can establish yourself as a business continuity subject expert. You can now even go further to specialize in maybe IT infrastructure based companies, government organizations. That's just put yourself out there. There's nobody that, if you adequately explain business continuity to them from a point of understanding, it won't be difficult to get anybody's buy-in. So I'll just advise us to go back, do our own research, look into it. Maybe if we're working in some organization right now, you want to even it's even something you can take to the top management on your own, that you've noticed that this, and it can affect our business continuity in the long run. Trust me, your promotion for that year is already sorted. Everybody will just be like, no, this person helped us do this. Or if you're already even working in a business continuity role as well, you want to make sure you do your own research, do more research, look at scenarios. There's a lot of incidents that happen these days. You want to make sure you learn from other people's mistake, and then it's not your own they are using to learn. So thank you for the opportunity to take this class. I don't know if you have any questions, so we can wrap up as my time is over.
Okay. Kindly send your questions via the chat box, or you can as well unmute to speak.
All right, so I think we do not have any questions. Please go through the slides and, do your research. Like I said earlier, trust me, business continuity is very interesting and equally very important for any organization. Thank you very much, everyone.
Right. Thank you very much, Precious. That was an amazing and insightful session, and kindly appreciate Precious for us in the chat room. Everyone, kindly appreciate her for this amazing session she just gave us. Okay, I think there's a question by Adigun. What's the role of business continuity in ISO 9001?
Unmute my mic. So ISO 9001, that's quality management system, right? So
Yes. Yes.
I feel like there's a way they intertwine, of course, because quality management system is even more foundational than 22301, because if most times people don't even have SOPs, they don't have, their processes are not adequately streamlined. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have a very decent ISO 9001 QMS in your organization, it's going to affect your business continuity at the end of the day, because those processes, even by the time, you just be experiencing confusion, because ISO 9001 kind of streamline your processes. There's a clear cut. So if you see ISO 22301 is based on process interaction, is a process-based implementation. We want to see how these processes interact. So 9001 will help you establish those processes before you now implement your 22301, to ensure that these processes are interacting with each other, to ensure that your business continuity management system is properly, you achieve the objectives of your business continuity management system.
All right. I think there's one more from Tehills Global. Is business continuity only for negative occurrence?
So at the end of the day, if everything is going smoothly, it's not exactly just for negative occurrences. We said, aside responding to incidents, business continuity also plays a huge part in ensuring that those negative incident do not even come to light in all. Just imagine there's supposed to be a fire incident, but your smoke detector detected it on time and it was compacted. Do you see that the negative occurrence did not even happen at the end of the day? So as much as it combats the negative occurrences, which is bound to happen in business, it also ensures that they don't even, come to light in the first place.
All right. Okay, since there is no other question, we'll be taking a break shortly, and the sessions will be resuming 12 o'clock exact on the dot. So please kindly use this time to fill in the attendance and make sure you have done that. The materials of this class and the recorded videos will be shared only to the paid members of this class. So if you want to make sure that you have done all the assessments and all the ISO assessments also, if you're having any issue with your assessment, kindly send a message to our admin at Transformation College of Business and Technology. So I'll see everyone soon. Don't stay far from your system. We should all convene back 12 o'clock on the dot. Just stretch your leg. You can, take one or two snacks. We'll be back shortly. Thank you very much.